When they told me I owed them $92,000 and had 30 days to vacate the land my grandfather built with his bare hands, I didn't yell, negotiate, or panic. I just stood there, stared at the stack of fraudulent paperwork they waved in my face, and asked one simple question. Are you absolutely sure you want to pick this fight? My name is Jace Walker, and this ranch isn't just where I live, it's where I belong. 163 acres of stubborn Wyoming earth passed down through generations of hard-working, callous men who understood one truth better than any law. Land isn't inherited, it's defended. My grandfather bought this place in 1957 with nothing but grit, a borrowed tractor, and a deal sealed over a diner cup of burnt coffee. He built every fence post, every plank of the barn, every inch of the road leading in. And before he died, he looked me in the eyes and said, Son, the land don't stay yours just because your name's on paper. You keep it because you're willing to protect it. I thought he meant wildlife, drought, and winters cold enough to bite bone. I didn't know the real danger would come wearing cologne, holding clipboards, and calling themselves the Association. I'd only been back on the ranch a week. After 6 deployments and years of sand, noise, and orders, I came home for peace. My mornings were simple. Coffee on the porch, boots in the dirt, fixing sagging fences, and a barn roof that whined every time the wind breathed wrong. The place needed work, but it was honest work. That peace lasted right up until I heard tires crunch on gravel. Nobody drives down my road unless they're invited. When I saw the shiny luxury SUV creeping toward my gate, dark-tinted windows, spotless chrome, I knew before the door opened something bad was coming. 3 people stepped out. First was a woman in a navy blazer and heels that didn't belong anywhere near mud. Her posture said she'd never worked a day outside in her life. Next was a guy with a cheap badge clipped to his belt like he practiced authority in the mirror. Then came a jumpy skinny man, with a clipboard held tight like it was a security blanket. The woman didn't introduce herself kindly. She announced herself like a queen addressing peasants. Mr. Walker, I'm Lily Davenport, president of the Pine Valley Residential Standards Committee. I blinked slowly and replied, Pretty long title for trespassers. She pretended not to hear and flipped open a folder. This property is now under our jurisdiction and currently holds unpaid association fees, unpaid improvement assessments, and documented violations carried over from the previous owner. I stepped forward and corrected her. There is no previous owner. This land has stayed in my family since Eisenhower sat in the White House. She handed me a paper stamped in bold red letters. Outstanding balance, $92,140.27. The clipboard man slid a pen toward me. Sign to acknowledge notice. I didn't sign. Instead, I leaned against the fence and said calmly, You're 12 miles outside your boundary and 1 step from a trespassing complaint. The fake badge guy stepped forward like he thought he was intimidating. Let's not escalate. I chuckled and shook my head. You escalated when you drove through my gate without permission. Lily's smile turned cold as November ice. You have 30 days to comply, pay, or surrender the property to the association. Failure to do so will result in legal enforcement, liens, and foreclosure. She held the pen out again. I didn't grab it. Instead, I walked back up to the porch and grabbed my old Winchester rifle resting next to the door. Didn't raise it, didn't threaten, just held it like memory. When I returned, the badge guy's hand twitched toward his hip, like he suddenly wished he'd brought backup. I rested the rifle barrel against my boot and said calmly, Before you come back, make sure you've got the right paperwork and the right kind of courage. Lily stiffened. Are you threatening us? I shook my head. No. Threats are loud. Warnings are quiet. They backed away and drove off, dust rolling behind them like retreating smoke. The moment they were gone, I called the sheriff and saved the footage from my driveway cameras. I knew this wasn't over. This was just round one. 2 days later, trouble came again, but this time disguised as government. A county inspector arrived with a packet of violations thicker than a Bible. He taped bright orange notices onto every barn door, declaring nearly every structure unsafe, unregistered, or non-compliant. I asked how he determined all that without even stepping inside. He said, "Photographs were submitted." Photographs of buildings only someone trespassing could have taken. That's when the anger settled. Not hot, not wild, cold and sharp. Someone was inside my property when I wasn't. I drove straight to the county clerk. She typed my parcel number, frowned, and whispered, "This property is being processed for annexation review, requested by Pine Valley HOA legal consultant." My jaw tightened. They weren't overstepping. They were orchestrating a hostile takeover. That night I laid out every deed, survey, and document my grandfather left behind. His handwriting stared back at me, no HOA. No outside claim. Ever. That sentence became my fuel. So I prepared, not with bullets, but evidence. I installed cameras, motion sensors, backed up every file 3 times. 3 nights later, one of those sensors pinged, barn door movement. I grabbed my rifle and moved silently across the yard. Through the crack of the door, I saw a flashlight beam and the jittery silhouette of someone cutting open my cabinets. It was the clipboard guy. He had bolt cutters, a backpack, and papers with forged signatures. I stepped inside and said quietly, "Drop it." He froze. I zip-tied his wrists and called the sheriff. Inside his bag we found fake warrants, copies of my deed, maps labeled Integration Phase 2, and a USB drive titled Development Takeover Plan. When I asked who paid him, he swallowed and whispered, "It's not just an HOA, it's Stone River Development. They want the land for a luxury community." That's when the situation turned from annoying to personal. My lawyer, Olivia Price, gathered every illegal action, every fraudulent signature, every trespassing attempt. When we finally went to court, the room was packed. Reporters, neighbors, half the county. The HOA president walked in confident, rehearsed, polished. She didn't look so polished after Olivia presented the fake maps, illegal filings, the forged signature pretending to be my grandfather's, and the USB documenting the entire takeover plan. When the judge compared signatures and reviewed the evidence, he removed his glasses, stared directly at Lily, and said, "This was intentional fraud." Then he announced his ruling. All HOA claims are void. The lien is illegal. The association will face civil penalties, and the matter will be forwarded for criminal investigation including forgery, attempted seizure, and trespassing. The courtroom erupted. Lily went pale. When the bailiff cuffed her, she glared at me and hissed, "This isn't finished." I just smiled and said, "Oh, it is. You just don't get to write the ending." 3 weeks later, the Pine Valley HOA collapsed under lawsuits, resignations, and public humiliation. Developers backed out, board members vanished, and neighbors finally stood up for themselves. I rebuilt my gate stronger than before and burned a message into the wood with a branding iron: private land. Not for sale. Ever. And sometimes, standing at that gate with the sun going down and the land quiet again, I hear my grandfather's voice reminding me, freedom doesn't stay free by accident, you protect it. So if someone tries to take what's yours, your land, your rights, your peace, stand. Even if you stand alone. Because people like that don't expect resistance, but they damn sure respect it once they feel it. And if you enjoyed this story and want more HOA revenge battles, make sure you hit subscribe. Because trust me, the next one is even crazier.